Welcome back to the channel, The Light Renegades. My name is Anna Maria, and I'm here with episode 3 of the Polarity Paradox, and this is DNA Part 2, where we cover what the attacks that our DNA opens us up to look like, the direct and indirect attacks. It also touches, it expanded while I was bringing through the information that felt in alignment, so I left it. But it also tackles what external attacks look like and a little bit about what can be done for both types, how to identify them and how to navigate them. Before sitting today, so this is actually take two, not take two, but I had a full video to present to you for DNA Part 2, and it wasn't feeling right. My introduction was it made less sense than usual. I'm not, I feel like sometimes I'm not the most eloquent in explaining things or sharing experiences. But the video that I recorded earlier today was more disjointed than usual. And during the rewatch, I decided to scrap it. But what I had been explaining was something that had happened to me. And I touched on this during the last DNA episode that I have been under attack, and this is both types of attacks. The ones that target the self-worth strings and uh, the voices that can get into your head that can make you not want to go ahead and do the things that you've been planning to do. But also like a physical attack. A few days before DNA Part 1 came out, I woke up with burnt skin. And this was strange. I hadn't changed anything in my diet, no new products, nothing new that could have explained it. And with energy work and a lot of moisturizer and jojoba oil, I was able to tame it after about a week and a half to 2 weeks. And this time around, the same thing happened. I'd been waiting for a cue, for the cue, the I guess the go ahead from the team um, to sit and record DNA Part 2. And I had a feeling that it would be coming out this week. And almost like clockwork on Sunday, I woke up again to a fresh bout of burnt skin and red, chapped, just not making much sense. But yeah, again, it was another attack, and it was to play at, insecurities, getting on camera with dry and parched skin. And skin's been something that has kind of been my, I guess, Achilles heel my whole life. I had really bad acne until very recently, and it was as I learned to understand, or as I was given to understand later, working with the teams, it was directly tied in with my own self-worth issues. And it was kind of like the skin was a mirror or a reflection, an outwards reflection of how I felt with myself. So the fact that they were targeting the skin, I guess they thought, that was a good way to deter me. But here I am, yeah, ready to present the information that I think is time to come out. And I'm honored to be here presenting it. I'm honored to be able to step forward into the camera as much as I may um, kick and scream in the lead up, because I think that, not I think, this is a gift, and I'm just so grateful to be able to be here and share it with all of you in ways that hopefully helps you with your day to day and with your understanding of self and with your understanding of this whole experience that we're in together. Um, yeah, I think I'll leave it there with the personal share. So this is part 2 of DNA. I don't think you necessarily have to pause and go back and watch DNA Part 1 if you haven't already, but I would recommend at some point sitting with the material. Um, I think that the two episodes are complementary, and do give a better overview of the material. Um, And if you haven't watched episode one, I think it's a great lead into the series, but also, more importantly, I think, is the attunement towards the end. There's a link in the description that will point directly to it. And yeah, that I might recommend sitting with and just getting attuned to the energies of the information that we're sharing here. Um, it can be pretty dense, and I think that there's something in, yeah, teams, I guess, upgrading us to a place that we're more receptive, open and receptive to the information coming through, um, in a way that would help with our expansion of the expansion of our understanding, rather. So yeah. But I guess with that, I will pull it up for those of you sticking around, and we can get into it. It's pretty long. Yeah, this was a really big segment. I had wanted to split it up, but I was told to leave it the way it was. So buckle up, and yeah, I'll get started. Greetings, loved ones. We come to you in the combined energies of the Pleading High Council, the Galactic Alliance, and the Grace Collective, together again today for more on the topic of DNA. For the purposes of today's message, we will be focusing more on the darker aspects in your DNA, the ones that are accessible by those working in service to self, seeking control and power over humanity for their own purposes. But before we begin, we wish to remind you that at the very core of the grand experience you came here to partake in, there was an agreement to allow this interplay of energies, dark and light, that is so often referred to as evil and good. You've heard before that there is no way to measure one without the presence of its antithesis. Even off planet, there are two integral parts of our existence, just manifested and experienced in different ways in different dimensional realities. Part of the agreement on Earth was that these aspects would play out internally and externally, each side of light and dark, with a purpose, if you will, to take up as much space from the other as possible. The game's objective, as far as a human experience, is to push you towards self-mastery of the darker aspects within, which in turn has a profound impact on the light-to-dark ratio on the planet at large. Not to mention, once you start facing initiatives to help others on their journeys, light begets light. There is so much strength, resilience, intelligence, and beauty coded in your genetic makeup, alongside the aspects you're currently working hard to master. You are not at a disadvantage simply because of the dark coding within, for it has been paired in a sense with complementary aspects to give you what you need to step outside of the thought and behavioral patterns attempting to keep you down. For that is what it is, at its core, a series of thought and behavioral patterns you're looking to break out of and replace with what truly feels good at a soul's level. This information covered today is dense and complex, and you may find it helpful to keep notes and write down your questions along the way, to keep track of your own possibly changing thought and belief pathways. One of the challenges in bringing information such as this forward is the importance of it being consumed as part of a whole, and not something inspected in isolation. There is so much to cover that it is not possible for it to be done in one sitting, so we invite you to listen and take your time with the material. It is important that any changes to your perspective feels good in your body. Sorry, there's something that's not making sense here, but basically here they're saying, yeah, that you get to choose whether or not you want to add this to your own ever-changing and ever-evolving personal truth. And then they go on to say, as is true with all information you're presented with. As mentioned in DNA Part 1, today we will be focusing on how your DNA opens you up to both direct and indirect forms of attack, and the vastly different ways that they manifest and look like to you and those around you, and what can be done. Lightworkers on this planet have been under attack for some time. You've heard this before, but it's not clearly understood what all the forms of attack look like. Within each of you, there is a dance, or a battle, however you choose to look at it, between light and dark, manifested within your being. This push and pull dynamic manifests differently in each individual, influenced by factors predetermined and contracted or planned before your arrival. These factors relate to lives being played out in other timelines, as well as other places and other dimensional existences, and often correlate to what is referred to as karma. By karma, we do not simply imply a one-dimensional cause and effect scenario where past transgressions directly result in challenges in this life. That may sometimes be the case, but we'd like you to consider a more sophisticated model. For instance, if someone were involved in a past genocide and caused pain by their own hand or aided closely the hands of others, specific DNA markers tracing them back to that life might have been activated in this life to allow them the opportunity to untangle themselves of the energy and be of greater service, to empower them to create something beneficial for those affected by the past event, for those affected by that past event who are incarnated alongside them now, with an impact on future generations. This may or may not take place alongside other DNA traits that place them into some sort of internal push and pull. It depends on what was needed, what was agreed upon as the goal of the life's overarching experience. Karma, sorry, this isn't written in, but this is coming through now. Karma isn't so much a penance as it is an opportunity to explore another side of an experience or to energetically make amends to the souls that have been impacted. Yeah. So we continue within them. And this is the people in this scenario that may have created the genocide, may have taken part. Sorry, with the genocide. Within them would be the threads linking them to that life. But what we wish to convey here is that it isn't always all regarded as positively oriented DNA from the lives lived simply and purely, and negatively oriented DNA from the lives cast in relative darkness. There is an interchange between the two based on what is needed in that life. You come from diverse, parallel, and multidimensional backgrounds and origins, and each of you has lived so many lives that have touched on countless decisions you might categorize as good or bad or worst. Each of these decisions in these lives contributes to your experience in your current life. What unites you now, here, in these spaces, are the choices you made to actively carry out your mission work with a shared goal to transmute darkness and increase the light quotient in your bodies and on this planet. Essentially, you are consciously choosing to take part in the ascension process, and in so doing, untangling yourself from negatively oriented energies being played out in other spaces, overcoming the series of obstacles you face, reclaiming control of your internal states, and choosing how you respond to create your reality. However, those who control the global narrative seek to keep you so inundated that you can barely keep your heads above water. They go to great lengths to poison everything consumable on this planet in order to activate the DNA in you that will act as further hurdles. Ultimately, they aim to divert your attention from the healing and inner work you came here to undertake. These distractions are, in fact, part of the attacks of which we've been referring to. They are manifested to encourage and influence your addictions, compulsions, depressions, mental and emotional, self-perception, impulse control, lack of motivation, anything that keeps you bound instead of free. It may feel like these challenges originate from your own circumstances and decisions, and they do, to some degree, according to what you've chosen to experience in the environments that hold your incarnation. But there are agendas outside of all that are intent on pulling you in deeper, so that escape feels almost impossible. Anyone with addiction will know that feeling of being pulled in and under. Anyone with depression will know that feeling of being pulled in and under. You have all felt and experienced the stress and anxiety that comes from not feeling love for self, love from others, and fear of what's to come. Great work has been put into promoting this feeling of disconnection from self and the collective, and the responses that follow. And that's how it works. An entire world separated under the influence of energies aimed to corrupt and destroy you from the inside out. While you have some or more of any of the possible predispositions programmed into your DNA from an experiential standpoint, these forces employ advanced external attacks to disrupt your internal state even further. Whether it's a negative reptilian influence or the influence of those in the Dark Order, groups working together in the purpose of service to self, are having the desired impact. However, those of you in these spaces have reached a threshold of understanding. You can now take control of your circumstances and are growing the experience and learning the tools to help you out. And regardless of what you may think and what you may have been conditioned to believe, you possess the strength necessary to step outside of this looping paradigm. As you move through the ascension process, you keep stepping into more moments where deeper layers and levels of understanding present and unfold for you. Everyone you know, to one extent or another, is playing out some version of this internal dance between light and dark within them. Some of them are in so deep they can't even see what's going on, while others were not meant to. They chose to play the game, some waking up to the understanding at some point in their incarnation, or perhaps not at all. For those of you here, while at times it may feel harder to have your eyes open, you have a level of awareness that is instrumental and exceedingly valuable in supporting your next steps. This awareness allows you to recognize the potential entry points, empowering you to fortify and shield against infiltrations from those who do not have your best interests at heart. Consider, for instance, those whose genetic makeup predisposes them to anxiety, depression, addiction, chronic illness, issues with identity, or anything of the like. Think of the aspects that you yourself have struggled with in this life, and how they almost feel like doors that can open you up to much denser energy. That's because they are doors, slides, pathways taken by those into acting in service to self. Darker forces seek to amplify and manipulate these emotional states by finding ways to further perpetuate them. They push impurities and toxins into your air, food, water, sound spaces, distorted energy and information into your entertainment, media, and news. They use fear above all else to activate you in certain ways that cause harm to the body and mind, and in many cases decay from within. These, incidentally, are the systems that are now under threat of collapse. Like light workers across your planet are starting to see more clearly, even those you might not consider to be awake. Attacks, as we've alluded to, look different for each of you. They look different for each of you, and they look different to each of you. For some, demons and devils may manifest. For others, they could be masked as your insecurities, permeating your day-to-day life, playing on your emotions. For others still, it's in the push and pull around addiction and addictive tendencies with drugs, drink, food, repetitive behaviors, from gambling to seemingly benign activities like scrolling on Instagram. If we sound alarmist, we do not mean to be, but there is something larger at play encouraging the social media doom-scrolling behavior that has emerged in the last decade. It's important to bring behavior to where you are, to where and how you focus your time, and who is encouraging you to spend it on your phone or device, mindlessly scrolling, swiping, clicking, desensitizing you to the beauty of life. We've seen some of you witness what others are going through and compare their traumas and experiences to your own. Why one person's response or reaction went one way, whereas yours might have gone differently. You were all created equal but different, and what you're working through manifests in entirely different ways. If you see someone in any state where they seem to be trapped in some manner, we'd like you to feel into the energy of what's going on, in light of the new information presented here today. Anything programmed into the DNA can cause instances where these states are felt vividly, to be understood and overcome, and learned from. But the state of the world, as it is now, has activated each of these aspects to proportions rarely seen before on your planet's history. in your Earth's history. This is the distinction between the experiential factor and the result of the attacks on you, and can be tuned into pretty adeptly with awareness and practice. Sorry, sec. You are each holding down the forts in such very different areas for the collective. Areas you've come here to work through. Areas of your life where you leave you feeling like a victim, or that leave you feeling hopeless or enraged. Explore these carefully. They will lead you to the crux of what you've come here to fight. We wish for you, we wish for each of you to put a face and a name to what attacks look like for you personally. Your intrusive thoughts, limiting beliefs, your addictions, they are the darkness in one form or another. Those in power are working to secure their foothold by targeting everyone and everything systematically through consistent attacks on your culture, your establishments and institutions, the way of life of your family, friends, strangers, to catch each of you up and keep you stuck. Understand their game. Let your inner knowing and your soul's inner knowing show you the truth. If those working against you had it their way, you'd all be asleep, operating in the confines of the matrix, working until exhaustion, spending your free time draining your monetary gains into more ways to distract yourself from your internal states, getting further into debt, and feeling imprisoned by the system they designed to keep you in this work, spend, distract, sleep pattern. Temptations around you are abound, and they pull strongly. Promoted, sold, glorified, and imprinted as fun, often sold as if they were where your freedom lay. This loved one was guided to Las Vegas 2 months ago, and shocked to tune into the energy being pumped into the collective, the energy attached to each person who walked through that space. We asked her to send out codes to disrupt the energy of compulsion, to limit the impact of the attacks and reduce the number of new targets being initiated for the first time that week. You can do this too, in the spaces you're called to disrupt by being aware and by setting the intention to change the energy within you and around you. There is so much power behind conscious intention, and its impact incredibly effective. Embedded within your cosmic DNA are threads that open you up to lower density experiences, but also threads that open you up to light and magic. Aspects such as your shadow self, the fear, the demons, the unseen battles that stir within both your waking and sleeping states can be quelled by the practices you consciously engage in. Often, these are the practices you shy away from for any myriad of reasons, while unsettling forces that tug at the corners of your heart and mind, or obstacles, find a way to prevent you from doing something to support your well-being. These are attacks as well. Can you point to a time where out of nowhere something happened? Someone said something, or you received a thought form that sent you in an opposite direction from where you were headed? Something big that had to be dealt with? Someone that triggered a response more than you felt the situation might have warranted? Where intrusive thought forms that perpetuated the tendencies you might be fighting fighting to overcome took over? These are the dark forces at play. They don't necessarily need to always take on the appearances of shadow beings, dark spirits, or evil entities, though often they do. Maybe they present as events as well, thoughts or people that propel you into lower vibrational states. Understanding that attacks are everywhere should not frighten you, as you've experienced them for much, if not most, of your time here. This information is meant to help you tune into your experiences by using intuition and understanding, so that when you are gripped by something that feels negatively oriented, you can feel into the intention behind it. It may be an experience for growth or learning, or it may be an attack. Incidentally, the two, we hate to say, are not mutually exclusive. However, if you feel the density around your situation, or get the intuitive hit that there is something larger at play, know that you have the power to say whatever feels right in the moment, to call it out. Something as simple as, I see you, and I reject your claim on my peace of mind. This can help shift the energy around you and your situation, thwarting the attack, bringing in light, surrounding yourself in the situation, and then, if able, sitting with what happened to better understand how it felt and how it slipped in, through which mechanism, through which thought form, through which old pattern of belief. When you begin this process, you might find yourself doing this multiple times a day, shocked at how often you come toe to toe with this sort of energy. Eventually, it should start to diminish, giving you greater awareness to catch yourself swayed earlier and earlier on, until eventually you catch the trigger as it's happening. We spoke about these openings as vulnerabilities in DNA Part 1. And here we want to elaborate to say that vulnerabilities do not make you vulnerable. They make you human. They open you up to everything placed on your path, and ultimately are worth their weight in gold in terms of how quickly they propel you forward into your own personal expansion. This isn't to put a sugar coating on things, but rather to help you step back and see the bigger picture, regardless of the plotting, scheming, and plans to keep humanity down. Humanity is fighting back. You are fighting back. This was agreed on at a soul's level. This was agreed on at a planetary level. Mother Earth is going through remarkably similar experiences as you, in terms of having been prepared to deal with a certain amount of growth, only to have that amount increased exponentially. But she agreed to it, and is fighting alongside you, for you, as you for her. What can you do to help yourself and others? The list of possibilities is long, and there isn't any one formula for success. Sorry. Ultimately, the power is in the identification and understanding, and then lies in the practices that you can try in the moment or daily to help strengthen the muscles inside of you that will sharpen your awareness even more. Each of you must try out different practices to see what feels right for you. There are so many tools available to you now that you're beginning to know where to look. So many resources and light workers stepping forward to help empower you to take your learning and healing into your own hands if you're not already. Your body is designed to bring light in at any time. It can hold a lot and pull in even more when the intention is set. So are the bodies of those around you. So find people who can keep an eye on things when you don't feel equipped to. Things you may want to consider including in your practice. Engaging in regular meditation practices to help center and strengthen your energetic field. Visualize a protective shield around you, filtering out negative energies and influence. Being mindful, of what you consume, not just in terms of food, but also media, news, and entertainment. Choosing high vibrational content that uplifts and supports your well-being. Pay attention to your diet as its impact on your physical and mental health. Consider adopting wellness approaches such as Ayurvedic living that support your unique genetic makeup. Cultivate self-awareness through introspective practices. Reflect on your genetic predispositions and past experiences, understanding the patterns and how they may influence you. Embrace holistic well-being practices including exercise, proper sleep, and stress management. The list goes on. Ultimately, we wish for you to start sharing your experiences and insights with like-minded individuals, fostering a sense of connection, community, and mutual growth. We'll end here for today. We hope this information has helped empower you, instead of instilling any fear. These direct and indirect attacks have become commonplace in your experience, and this knowledge is intended to help you tune into your intuition and understanding of the mechanisms behind them. When faced with something that feels negatively oriented, you can feel into the intention behind it and respond accordingly. Ultimately, the power lies in identification and understanding, as well as in the practices that resonate with you. Each of you is unique, and what works for one may not work for the other. Trust your intuition and inner guidance as you navigate this path of self-discovery and empowerment. Reach out to the Light Renegades if you have any questions or feel like support would be beneficial at this juncture. Remember, you are powerful beyond measure, capable of transmuting darkness into light, fear into love. Embrace this power and let it guide you on your journey of healing and transformation. We leave you here with love. Until next time. All right, so there it is. Take two of DNA part two. It's funny because in both cases, I don't know if it's a function of just reading for 20 minutes straight or, um, yeah, I don't know. I've been feeling my throat chakra closing up both this morning and right now. So I think I'm gonna end it there. But yeah, as the team said, if you guys are looking for support, Will Star and I do offer our services to help out wherever we can. If you have questions about the content channeled here today or read pre-channeled material read here today, um, please do reach out or post in the comments below. And yeah, don't be a stranger. I think one of the goals that we had from the very start of the Light Renegades was to be here to support those who may be needing it. So if that's you, know that you're not alone and drop us a line. All right. I love you. Bye for now.